What's the most shocking thing you've ever caught a family member doing? Possibly NSFW. Walked in on my father looking at his desktop wallpaper. I walked in on my 2 kids making out and clearly about to have a sex. They told me they were just wrestling. But I knew. I decided to just forget about it. Looked out my window to see my parents having sex in the hot tub. I quickly ran to my brother's room to tell him. And found him looking out the window and fapping. Dying. When I was 4 I came home from school to find my brother, 16 years old, letting his grasp of life go. He OD'd huffing on something. There were a bunch of high schoolers that skipped out to go to our house apparently to do this. He went first. Things went bad. They all bailed. No one called emergency services. So by the time I got them there he was dead. TL. Doctor, I caught a family member dying. My brother had been in the bathroom for hours. He was like 4. We finally told him we were coming with or without his permission. We get in there, and there are little plastic army men everywhere. Everywhere. I know it doesn't sound very shocking compared to some of the stories here, but they were everywhere. We have no idea how he reached some of the spots where the army men were. They were in the corner of the shower, in the fan, balancing on the light fixtures. It just didn't make sense. He even managed to lift the back of the toilet and put them in there. He didn't have any kind of explanation. It was very weird. He used like 2 buckets of army men. It took a few weeks before we managed to find them all. I had to drive my mum to meet M's stepdad for a bushiness trip. Since it was the holidays we brought my little brother and planned on staying there for the weekend. There was a party to the hotel. So my mum and stepdad go. And I stay and play TF2 while my bro watches. He falls asleep and so I browse Reddit for a while. But not 30 seconds after I put my laptop down and decided to sleep did my parents come in drunk, strip naked and have a sex right ducking next to me. I pretend to be asleep but my step-DD came too early and my mum kept yelling just make me come. I wanna come so bad. Ect. He eats her out then they have a sex again. Shower and then go to bed. After they fell asleep and were snoring, M brother rolls over and looks me directly in the eyes with a WTF look. Edit. Holy duck, more upvotes than the actual thread. Thanks guys. BTW, this is completely true and happened almost a month ago. Okay, this will probably get lost in the thread but we'll try anyway. This happened to me when I was about 14 and I will never forget it. Here goes. Everyone had gone out for the evening except my sister who was downstairs watching TV. I was getting a little thirsty and decided to creep downstairs to grab a soda. I knew something wasn't right when I discovered my older sister, 16 at the time, wasn't sprawled on the sofa watching her favorite soap. I decided to investigate. I crept into the kitchen and heard a door creak. I thought it would be funny to hide in a cupboard and see what she gets up to. Christ on a bike. I regret that decision to this day. My sis made her way to fridge and decided to make herself some toast. What happened next really blew my mind. Once the toast popped up she grabbed it and proceeded to spread butter all over it. But get this. She then decides to put the third cooking knife that she just used to butter her toast into the jam. She didn't bother cleaning it first. There were blobs of crumb-soaked butter all over the jam that was left in the jar. I was disgusted. I later confronted her about it and she denied everything. She said the blobs were probably already there. Grow the duck up. Mom was really pissed about the whole thing though. Boobs were no good to you because you had just come out of the closet. I once saw my younger cousin stick a fork into a power outlet. It was shocking. Well, I once caught my brother applying ice-head cream on his leg. 10 minutes later I see him running butt naked to the shower screaming while cupping his balls. I knew exactly what happened. Got caught wanking the first time I ever wanked. Mum walked away. Got caught wanking the second time I ever wanked. Mum walked away. Got caught wanking the third time I ever wanked. Mum paused and said, I'm very disappointed in you. More like what they caught me doing. I used to masturbate in the bathroom. My mom caught me also then proceeded to tell everyone in my family what I did, including the exact motions. Not just immediate family either. Aunts, uncles, cousins. Yeah. I grew up thinking I was a pervert. My best friend asked me to help her fix her mom's laptop, which had half a screen of toolbars when the browser was open, etc. The best friend was poking around opening files and right as I said, "We can just scan all of them instead," a pic of her mom naked with 2 dildos crammed in her ass pops up. This woman, a mom, practically raised me. The image is burned into my retina. My father and I were sitting in the family room watching television when my little brother came downstairs from taking a shower wrapped in a towel. He sat down on the sofa, unwrapped the towel, and proceeded to start fapping like it was nobody's business. To be fair, he was too young to realize it was a sexual thing, and had no clue he shouldn't do it in front of other people. My dad looked over and said, "Don't ever let me see you do that again," and went right back to watching TV. Why am I still reading this? I saw my sister's homemade porno by accident once. Not really that shocking, but certainly distressing. I was having sex with my wife in the hot tub the other day, and when I looked at the window I saw my son looking at us while fapping. Walked in on my brother once while he was masturbating to videos of expanding and exploding boobs. Didn't know they made those. Now you know. Walked in on my sister eating dog food, out of the dog bowl, on all fours, and when she saw me, she crawled away with her head down. She wasn't a kid either. She was 15. The first time I rode a dirt bike my father speed past me, standing on the seat, with no hands, like this. I was probably 11 at the time and my father was 55. I never looked at him the same again. Cleaning out my grandfather's stuff after he passed away, found a bunch of unlabeled floppy disks and thought I should check to see if anything important was on them. Each one contained like a 30-second clip of gay porn. I was absolutely shocked. Who uses a floppy disk for porn? Walked in on my brother having a threesome in my own bedroom. I caught my dog having gay oral sex with another dog from up the street. Full stop. An ex-girlfriend of mine found a tape of fetish porn her dad had ordered in their guest room closet. She made me watch it with her. It ended up being the first time I had anal sex. Catching your dad masturbating is shocking no matter how many times it happens. Also, someone should make a tutorial for grown men to learn how to hide their tracks of looking at porn. Called a phone-a-6 line in the days before internet and fell asleep. I was about 13 or so. Couple weeks later my uncle got a phone bill for $1,400. My great-grandaunt found out, she was about 77, and phoned me and told me the following. "Holy it boy, you could have just called me and I would have talked dirty to you for free." I never called a phone-a-6 line again. I was about 3 years old when I first walked in on my parents going at it. I remember walking in there, seeing my dad. At the time I was so young that I didn't know what they were doing. He saw me walk in, turned to my mom and said, "Let's just keep going, he won't remember this or know what we're doing." Well, guess what, Dad? That was one of the very few things I remember as a little kid. Kinda on the subject, when I was 16, I went over my friend's house, and we both jacked off to his mom's sex tape. No blanket separating us or anything. Also, caught my dad jacking off once. That's shocking, but not too crazy. That was also the day I learned my dad had a huge cock. Finally, when I was 17 I started getting into some pretty ducked up porn. Eventually, my mom caught onto what I was looking at after I got lazy and didn't clear the history. One day she looked at me and said to me, "I've seen what you look at, and you are going to hell." I caught my brother eating frozen placenta. He thought it was meat ice cream. Not me, but a former friend of mine and her brother found their mom's sex tape with my friend's own ex-boyfriend. My grandma walked up to a group of male relatives at a family gathering and said, "What do you call a Mexican gal with no legs?" "Consuelo, Consuelo. She is your otherwise typical 1950s military housewife." When I was around 16 my overweight stepsister walked into the kitchen, not realizing I was in the room overreading not moving, and proceeded to eat a whole stick of refrigerated butter. I waited until she finished the entire thing before I asked her what the she was doing. Not my family member, but I was there, And I've posted this story a few times already. When I was 14 I went with my girlfriend to her best friend's birthday party. When it was time for cake, the friend went to get her little sister, who had decided to be antisocial and stay in her room. My girlfriend went along as well, and since she was my only link to being there I followed. The 11-year-old little sister was having sex with their dog. Well, one day I looked in through my garage window and saw my brother on the far side of our car. He was moving back and forth, but I was too naive to realize that he was doing something sexual. Out of curiosity, an hour or so after he left, I went in the garage to check what he was doing. There was sticky stuff all over the inside of the car's exhaust pipe. It was a rusty 64 Mustang. I guess I accidentally caught my brother participating in some autoerotic stimulation. I was 5 and had a bad dream, so I walked in on my parents mid-doggy style. My dad leapt from the floor to the bed and my mom just got up and pretended I didn't see anything. Totally forgot why I walked in for. Then when I was 18, my parents had passed away from a boating accident when I was 17. So my older brother and I were left to look after my little twin sisters who were 11. Anyways, my little sisters learned the flute in school and had their first band concert. So I was trying to find a mini DV tape to record over for their concert. I ended up finding my parents' sex tape. Nothing is worse than finding your dead parents' sex tape. Found my brother and his girl having sex on chat roulette. They were right upstairs from me. I caught my dad jerking off a few times. You would think if he was going to do it in his office, that he would at least close the door. He came out to greet me once. His hands touched my face. I was at my girlfriend's house today watching Free Willy on TV in the living room. Her dad, who is 60-something BTW, was derping around on the internets. Suddenly my girlfriend grabs my arm and points to her dad, just 10 feet from us in plain view, watching porn on the computer. He's an older gentleman, and I believe we witnessed his first experience with the internet's primary use. He was so innocently perplexed, like a child sipping his first juice box. My best friend lived with my family for 18 months when we were in grade 4 because his dad was on trial for molesting his sister. At least 6 times I walked in on him and my older brother performing an interesting blowjob 69 type deal. They got more and more chalant about it until one night they were doing it in my bed and my parents walked in. Awkwardest week in my house ever. Funny story. Now they are both some of the most homophobic people I know and I'm gay. This doesn't fit the question perfectly, but it's certainly related. It's not me or my family, but it's a story my ex-choir director told me. Before he was my choir director he worked at a different high school. After the final show of the year, there was nothing left to do so he had students bring in movies to watch in class. One of the students brought in what she thought was a musical on VHS. Nope. It turned out that her parents had taped over the musical with their homemade porn. Let me start by saying I was a very naive child for the first 5 or 6 years of my life. I had heard from someone in my kindergarten class in my very Catholic school that being gay meant that you stood up to pee. My older sister and her husband were over for a family party and I had to use the bathroom. Her husband was already in there. He didn't lock the door. I shut the door quick and ran to my room. I spent the next few hours trying to figure out how to tell my sister her husband was gay. I didn't know what gay even was, except it was supposed to be bad and standing up to pee meant you had it. I worked up the courage and told her and she told me it was okay. He wasn't gay. The next thing I heard was hilarious laughter from everyone in the yard. It was quite a few years before anyone even gave me the correct information. Probably gonna get buried, but here goes. My brother is a duckin' weirdo. We will just start it like that. Basically, he always found it really funny to run into whatever room someone was in, pull his bare ass cheeks apart and fart at them and then hysterically laugh at them. I mean, it really was quite funny sometimes, but this one time, my mom and I were in her room talking and all of a sudden my brother bursts through the door, spins around, does the obligatory spread, but this time something disgustingly magical happened. The most perfect spherical ball of it about the size of a large ball bearing shot out of his ass and landed on the floor in front of us. Silence. Then my mom and I proceeded to laugh so hard we cried, and my brother was so mortified that he started crying and ran out. He was 11. Man, that was amazing. Little it never did that again. I can honestly say I've never done this with my female friends. Happened when I was about 8. My dad had an inoperable brain tumor and really shouldn't have been driving. He was picking up my older brother from work one day and my sister got out of the back seat to take his place. She ran around the back of the car and he decided then was the perfect time to back up. Not knowing that she'd gotten out, he managed to drive over the back over the side of her foot and completely shear off the side. You know, the nub thing that kind of sticks out of the outer edge of the foot. Clean down to the bone. I've never seen so much blood. 10. Dad liked to duct tape down the kill switch on our push mower, so my brother was cutting it off. Well, while I was watching, he managed to slip through the tape and ram the knife into his wrist, severing the tendon to his thumb. That was fun. 14. After dad died, mom hooked up with a real winner. On this occasion she had caught him at the bar snorting coke, so when they got home I watched her smash him in the face with a big glass ashtray. Third bloodiest thing I've ever seen. 15. Watched stepdad try to kill himself by repeatedly bashing himself in the head with an iron skillet. Second bloodiest thing. Probably going to get buried. So there you go. This isn't that shocking by today's standards, but I was at an arts and sciences summer camp. 2-week sleepover camp. We'd stay in dorms. In this case at the U of Maryland. I was probably around 11 at the time, mid-late 90s, and at this camp they had us take classes and forced you to take part in both art and science. And being the nerd I am, I tried to avoid taking any art. They threw me into a drawing class, 8-14-year-olds, which was bearable simply because we had an extremely eccentric guy in charge. He'd tell us to draw whatever the hell we felt like and would encourage us to keep with it, regardless of how it came out. On the last day of camp he simply came in with a huge 10x10 feet piece of paper and said to us, "I want each of you to draw the most disgusting and perverse sexual things you can possibly think of. Make it absurd. Make it weird. Your parents nor the camp directors will never see this. Go wild." So we did. Never in my life had I seen so much drawn blood combined with ejaculate. I saw monkeys masturbating onto old men. I saw boobs sliced off and worn as hats. And I saw women impaling their heads on their own Ds. The teacher took it home and he wasn't at the camp the following summer.